we are saying that as much as there is a focus on middle school and high school and skilling and education, if the seed and seedling didn't get watering and proper roots in the beginning years, the tree will always more likely to be weak. The roots are shaky. So it's like a foundational approach grounded on ensuring that whatever it takes for a child. So what we believe as an umbrella context is that it's not a question of having an education arrangement. It's about nutritional context. It's about outside school, what is happening as a society, the non-formal education. It's about nutrition and health. It's about immunization, and it's about periodic. So what equips a child to face the world day after day, every day? What will make their roots stronger? A free lesson to you on agriculture, that the tree that you see standing up, the stem is only as strong as the root below. There is a ratio between the two. The stronger the roots, the stronger the tree. So the stronger the start, the stronger the future citizen of India.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very special guest with us. We have today Sudarshan Suchi, who is Save the Children's Chief Executive Officer. He is a seasoned civil society leader and an authority in participatory practices to empower communities to lead transformation. He has rich local and global experience in academic development and in corporate environment. An alumnus of St. Stephen's College, Delhi University, and Institute of Development Studies, UK, Sudarshan is a leading development professional with exceptional strength in conceptualizing development-based programs and business models, efficient resource mobilization, instituting partnerships, and effective collaborations towards issues that impact children's access to basic human rights. Sudarshan also serves on various government platforms, on Board of Udyogini NGO and Academic Council of IIHMR's Rural Management Program. A self-professed and self-trained farmer, Sudarshan is also the co-founder of Udayan Centre for Collaborative Learning, a grassroots NGO in central India. We're really glad to have you with us, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Asta. Very happy through this platform to be engaging with the larger, sector and others in the same journey. So, but thank you. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same here, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. To begin with the question is, let's begin by understanding how you came into the development sector and what has been your journey with Save the Children.
Okay. So this is my 35th year in the journey of my work life and in the development sector. I came in when it was not even known so. In mid 1980s, when all we knew was voluntary agencies. That was all. And social work. These was the thing. So NGO and development sector as common language, colloquial, came much later than that. Just to put that into perspective. And very honestly, I mean, there are people who will narrate to you stories that since I was born or my conscience, I wanted to do this, I wanted to be of service, this, that. I have no such magical claims. And mine happened more by an accident. I right out of college, I wanted to escape home and have maximum distance and be somewhere where nobody else will tell me what to do, and there will be some good money to use, like any 21-year-old. So I landed up in a tea plantation in South Nilgiris, and as an assistant manager, and what the local people called as a Chota Sahib. So that was the thing, and I lasted there 11 months. And my biggest achievement in life there in that time was I suddenly discovered what I didn't want to do. And I tell you, for all those listeners who are in doubt, one of the biggest achievements is to figure out what you certainly don't want to do. So I was sure I didn't want to be in a business format, in a corporate sector, in a exploitative context and an oppressive context. So that was something I knew. What I didn't know was what did I want to do. I had a vague idea that I loved being with people and communities and would love to be in their journey as they go on. And knew vaguely that that's what voluntary agencies do. They go and serve people. So I came back to Delhi. Action number one. Action two, I got married and then figured out that I need to find a job to live, also, and start looking what do I do. So I went to various NGOs around Delhi to employ me, which had just started, and they all wanted whether I was an MSW or an IIHMR management graduate or a technical fellow or something. I had nothing like that. I was just a philosophy graduate out of college. and in some ways, jack of all trades. So there's this organization, SPWD, Society for Promotion of Wastelands Development. Two people there, one Mr. Ishwaran, the head, and one Mr. Arvind Khare. They indulged me in saying that they will help me evolve and provided a space for me to work with them in Garhwal and Kumaon region of the Himalaya. And that's where I took my baby steps in the development sector. And that organization got me to see NGOs across the country, their ways of working, their engagements, and various. So, a couple of years of exposure on the grassroots level, that was the defining time for me, really. So, that is how I came to be and never looked back after that. And I think that's when I found my calling. And it's been a great going ever since then. And some 2 years ago, almost close to 2 years ago, I came here to save the children as CEO. That is that I am in a job, paid for something I just love doing, and I would have been happily doing it otherwise. I mean, being with children and thinking about children and work, I think that's the best thing that could have happened to me. I don't know to my colleagues and children that you'll have to find out from them, but they certainly have been good to me. It's been a lovely experience of realizing how the world looks like from marginal, vulnerable children's context, and how small things can make very big life-defining changes for them. So you really feel like an active citizen to be part of such a big umbrella with a very wholesome engagement. So yeah, so that's where I am today.
That's an incredible journey, sir. In fact, when you were talking, it felt like I was listening to a fictional audiobook. So amazing, amazing. So good to hear about your journey in the sector. Moving to our next question. Save the Children is extensively working on maternal and child health. According to you, what role can the private sector play in improving women and child nutrition indicators? And why is it important for a business to invest in health and nutrition in the first place?
So, first, a larger philosophy in life, which evolved 4-5 years on working. That is, if you are not a part of solution, you are a part of the problem. That goes for all of us. So when I say all of us, in this question, it's the private sector, the business also. So this country is one which has a small subsection of it in the metros and tier 2 cities who are in the space age, who can compete with the best of the world in reaching Mars and IT. And we have a population larger than probably entire sub-Saharan context put together, which is frozen in Stone Age, extremely severely malnutrition, lack of education, infant mortality, and all those challenges. So if that part of India, the two parts of India have to unite, then those of us who have enjoyed the fruits of independence, and you would have often recently this year heard of something called Amrit Mahotsav, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th year of independence. So some of us, I truly am independent. I've got my right to education, to health, to information, to vote, to participate, everything. So truly Amrit Mahotsav. And for many people, it's been sadly the wish. I mean, they are lacking. They have not managed. Some have paid cost with their life, and others are struggling to make life good. So as a country, if this Amrit Mahotsav idea has to come true, the haves have to chip in to solve the problems of have not. Otherwise, we will be part of problem. Now, coming to the larger context, maternal health, child health, and the entire context, there are 2-3 avenues in which NGOs, governments, and business sector can collaborate. The strengths of us in NGO, the first and foremost is the credibility on ground and the relationship with people who are living a certain pain, which allows us the privilege of understanding what are all their challenges in coping up and what are all the kind of solutions which could be relevant and applicable or implementable for them. Knowing that is a first big step. Knowing that and being able to solve if it requires resources, if it requires technology, so that there is a proof of concept, it needs the backing of people who have the extra resources. So the first point at which businesses can come in support is, have a generous share of their profits invested back into solving these problems at concept level. The government level collaboration in the same context comes, and when such proofs are available, plan it at scale, because government is the biggest change maker. So that is how 3 of us can come together, but it doesn't end there. private sector, the business sector, what is that core? If our core competence is building credibility on ground, their core competencies have been looking at various challenges and solving them by way of developing a business model, a business proposition around lack of something. So anywhere where there is a gap, the business sector finds a way of doing business and making it viable. I'm saying in a broader concept, in the market principles of market economy. Now, those brains are the ones which we want to descend in and solve the problems at grassroots level too. So if the people from IITs, IIMs, and the best of places are in businesses, helping businesses grow, it's the same quality of minds we require at grassroots level to solve grassroots problems in a way that they stay solved. So that's the whole idea. And that is where we see a big opportunity in terms of this. Last but not the least, I think the ability of business sector to quantify, and the let's say build up a data kind of analytics and system and support the NGO. That's the other place where there is a huge opportunity of the context. We at SAVE have very actively leveraged that in many of our initiatives around this. So we collaborate with bodies like Indian Dietary Association, the Nutrition, Indian Institute of Nutrition, and this thing at Hyderabad. There are various initiatives where we have combined together, and then there are like projects like we call them Vishwas and Sans, which is around infant mortality from pneumonia, where corporate collaboration with us in Rajasthan led to eventual scaling it across Rajasthan and then across India. So modeling proof of concept, bringing something to scale to offer to the government, that is what I think the collaboration does. And in other words, I would say that's what makes sustainable development happen. So that's the eventual part, because you have all the critical role players in people with resources, people with technology, people living the problem, people the connectors like us. So that's the whole journey.
Thank you so much, sir, for putting it so aptly. I mean, you highlighted the part about collaborations, how government is the biggest change player in the entire picture. And of course, I mean, the corporates have a very important role to play with their expertise and resources. They can do a lot, you know. Again, it has to be, through collaboration with different agencies. Moving on to our next question, COVID-19 has changed our lives in unprecedented ways.
Mm.
While the government has been pushing for vaccinations for children, there have been many challenges.
Mm.
How is Save the Children working towards ensuring vaccination for adolescents and children? Have there been any challenges? If yes, how did you overcome these challenges?
So a new phrase came. I mean, everything has been new about the situation around COVID. Ever since, let us say, the fatal March 2020, the lockdown process and context. One phrase which came into currency was social distancing. And social distancing meant suddenly people were away from each other in their own homes and other contexts. So at Save the Children, we had a choice of social distancing, meaning we are locked down in our own houses at a distance physically and mentally from all the others with whom we work or whom we care about. We chose to make sure to safeguard and bring a phrase physical distancing and socially far more connected. So that's the first thing we ensured, that the bridge with vulnerable communities and children continues, so that we stay real-time context with them as to what is their reality, how are they facing, one part. Second context, which is a very big factor, these are children who otherwise had safe social spaces in schools and other places, were suddenly confined to very limited space and also to high risks. So it was important for us that much to help reach out, build sustainability or continuity in their life. I think one of the things which we have no idea about is the mental fatigue and challenges they went through, because there's been no assimilation of that. And we also realized that how important it is as a part of our larger education curriculum or approach, that it's not about math, science, English to be passed. Life skills is what counts. So our education has been that life skills needs to be a part and parcel of any journey of engagement with children, so that they are not caught unawares next time, and that there is a continuity in terms of reach out and in terms of connectedness. And the other context has been around protection and issues of abuse. fairly enough data over history shows that bulk of it has happened in and around the home locations and context. So we had to develop what we called as an SOP, protocols around how to measure all this context, how to ensure that there is a safety even there, and how to kind of be available and they reach out. And one of the things I would say very, in some ways, proudly, we launched a helpline, started from Rajasthan, called Umeed. And as the word says, hope, for children to call and reach out and to be able to. This was in collaboration with Rajasthan government. And I think it's again something which worked as public, private, and government context, and now can be scaled up there. And even while doing all this, so I'll come to the whole thing about the vaccine, COVID, the vaccine, and the other context, saying that at the marginal level or vulnerable level, people don't have access to information, and lack of information or disinformation prevents them from knowing what all choices they have and then making educated, informed, objective choice. So in absence of this, what happens? That there was hesitancy around fear of death or side effects, around fertility and menstrual cycles, some very elementary things which we would consider as taken for granted, just go into, and lack of information or disinformation and myths around types of vaccines and what choices to make and where, and whether everyone genuinely needed or not, and how. So my take on all this, and for us at Save the Children, was that you can't be prescriptive. Our engagement needs to be wholesome in nature with children, where we need to build their capacities to seek knowledge and then build the capabilities to access that knowledge so that right choices get made. That was our biggest learning outcome from this COVID related context and situation, as to how do we organize ourselves that such gaps don't suddenly come and surprise us in any pandemic of any kind of calamity. It's not just COVID. And looking back, I would say the people, the real heroes of last 2 years. So we managed to reach out to more than 1 million children, and we managed to extensively in the second wave, when most people were locking down, there were people out there, you know, reaching out, arranging medical kits, food kits, creating a new dictionary for ourselves. I mean, I probably, if you asked me, I and most of my colleagues couldn't have spelled oxygen concentrator as a spelling if you asked us to write, or various connected things with it, some names of vaccines, tablets, and thing. And each one of us is almost an half expert now in a half of this, because there was nobody else and we were asked and we had to be there. So my colleagues in urban areas, populated thick like Delhi, Bombay, and far rural areas in Satapada, Odisha, or Santoshpur, Bihar, or Kashmir, or Mulugu, Telangana, they were day in and day out reaching out, ensuring medical help, food help, shelter, continued education. I'll come back to that later. So the real heroes were Asha workers, Anganwadi workers, our frontline people. And I wish there were like equivalent of, this Paramveer Chakras and Bharat Ratnas for these people, because they went out when there was a fear of their life, when their own families feared. They made a choice. They made a choice of being part of the solution. They taught us some very important lessons in life of servicing others, putting yourself behind secondary. So these people emerged as the ones who provided the continuity in service. And more than anything else, I would say material aid, more than that, they gave hope. They gave hope to people that they're not abandoned, they're not left alone. And you asked me the first question, how did I get into development sector? I mentioned that, but now I should mention that what makes us stay in the development sector, what makes us look forward to every other day. Is 35 years, everything done and over? Not really. 36th year is new year. Next day is a new day and wonderful day because of all these people. There was this boy called Tushar in Bombay, one of the child champions of ours. And we were stuck with some medical equipment and aid having come at Bombay airport, but nobody in Bombay airport, the regular people from cargo and others, available to actually get things out and distributed across the country. These two kids, they went to the airport, learned, found ways, formalities, everything they fulfilled while being in the entire paraphernalia of the kit and everything. And I mean, amazing. I mean, what more can you learn from? Yeah. Very grateful to each one of them. I wish I could name all of them from across and personally acknowledge, and of all other organizations too. I think the NGO sector really came good, SAVE included, in retaining the fabric of the country around, they came the best around the worst of the times. And I think that's my take, not just SAVE, but every other civil society organization.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing in depth, about the challenges you faced and how we overcame those. Save the Children, no doubt, is definitely doing incredible work. And as you said, we are also very proud of all the children that have done this wonderful, amazing work. On your website, we came across your campaign, The Right Start, an umbrella approach shining light on under five. Tell us a little bit about the campaign and what do you aim to achieve out of this campaign?
So I think one of the questions that should occur to people is the contraindication. Is there a wrong start? So I would say there is a non-start starter. So when the kids are left at the early stage, or let me first draw an analogy of a tree. So when you have good, well-grown trees, and you assume that the mango tree is yielding good mangoes, the lemon tree is yielding good lemon, there's a whole story behind it. It started with when there was a seedling, how the seedling was treated, how the roots were developed, who watered. So the relationship between a gardener and a plant, the farmer and a plant, is to nourish and develop so that eventually the plant bears fruit and is of service, and then more seeds come, they multiply, they spread, and the life cycle goes on. So what you do when the seed is sowed is what you reap much later. Countries and democracies and active citizenship is similar. And the most attention that is needed is at the early stages for children, before 6. So the right start, our umbrella approach is all about that. We are saying that as much as there is a focus on middle school and high school and skilling and education, if the seed and seedling didn't get watering and proper roots in the beginning years, the tree will always more likely to be weak. The roots are shaky. So it's like a foundational approach grounded on ensuring that whatever it takes for a child. So what we believe as an umbrella context is that it's not a question of having an education arrangement. It's about nutritional context. It's about outside school, what is happening as a society, the non-formal education. It's about nutrition and health. It's about immunization, and it's about periodic. So what equips a child to face the world day after day, every day? What will make their roots stronger? A free lesson to you on agriculture, that the tree that you see standing up, the stem is only as strong as the root below. There is a ratio between the two. The stronger the roots, the stronger the tree. So the stronger the start, the stronger the future citizen of India. Imagine 40% of India is youth today. And if at the early start they're not invested in, well, what's the risk we could be putting them in? So our context is to make sure that if there is no right start, it's a whole country at risk. So therefore, this umbrella approach of ours, that we first reach out to children where they need to be reached out, that is right at home, right in the beginning when they're taking the baby steps. And those roots need to be nurtured. That's how the self-resilience of a community eventually emerges. And like I mentioned, it's not one or the other thing, it's a holistic umbrella approach. That is what, and I'm personally very proud of this context, that proud of us as an organization having evolved to look at holistic transformative solutions, that which looks a child and a child's journey as a wholesome context and not in compartments and isolation.
Very true, sir. Very true. Right to play must also be part of the right start, approach. However, my next question is more on the right to play part. So, right to play for children is of paramount importance. Is your Street Child Cricket World Cup 2023 in line with that? We'd like to know a little bit more about this initiative as well.
Okay, so all rights are only as good as they are enabled in practice. Without that, they remains words frozen in some frame or other. So cricket to ek bahana hai, because the whole country's image is caught up with cricket. We want children with identity and agency to be, as we called earlier, the invisibles become visible. We want them to be mainstreamed with rest of the country and have the right to an equal existence. The protection, the education, the learning, the entire journey. They have as much right as anybody. Street Cup, World Cup children is a symbolic representation of bringing them to the mainstream. And we believe that play and sports the spirit of sport and the very action of sport is a unifier. So little things. So it's normally something that goes along with the cycle of World Cup cricket, 4 years as it goes, so that an attention can be drawn around. I mean, on a given day, between problems of our children and cricket going on, maybe more people may get tempted to focus on cricket. So we thought, okay, if that's where the space and time is, why not be there? And then we are looking at a larger socially consistent message. So this is a international event, but it's also events to break barriers of gender, of age, of various contents. So our cricket is of, inclusive cricket. It's about playing, laughing, and being together. And it's of looking at sports as a medium of a unifier message, and sports as a exercising a right to play, but also in wanting the rest of the world to support more of such things happening. So our big hope is that those citizens of ours who are watching and actively participating on the fringes will come more into engaging with children through this medium and through this context. So that's our aspiration here, even while it brings smiles to the children who are actively in that event for that day. So that's the smaller part. Yeah.
That's an incredible initiative, sir. I'm sure that this is going to bring in a lot of collaboration, help you mainstream, the ideas or, the suggestions that you might have at a larger level in terms of inclusivity for children, their rights, and many other important areas. It's a very, very good platform. Moving on to our last question for today. Child rights has been at the core of Save the Children's work. It's been evident throughout our conversation. While companies do invest in education and health for children, the advocacy area lacks support. What do you think are the main reasons for that? And what can the NGOs and companies do to work together for a policy level change?
So let me tell you first about 2, 3 children who represent the idea of this. There's this girl Radha from Assam, who's in the tea gardens. And during the pandemic time, when there was a lack of continuity of education, and suddenly there was an dependency on technology, and not everybody had access to technology. If they couldn't go to school, the solution other obvious was school had to come to them. So somebody had to get this done. So Radha, who's right now 17 and student of class 9th last year, decided that she's not going to wait for anybody else. So she took lead and organized all the children in and around her community and got them to represent with the panchayat and with all the influencers and others to be that they need resources and they need space which are safe, which are innocuous, and where they are backed so that education can continue in safe environment. And she got that done. And among other things, she has been helped by the fact that she was familiar and engaged with Save the Children around the idea of Village Child Protection Committee, of certain spaces of engagement. And similarly, I'm recalling another person from a different geography, Sanya from Kashmir. So also another young girl going to school with a slight difference, impatient, intolerant, flamboyant, angry, firebrand, and willing to take a challenge. And all that she was having as a situation was the school had a big ground attached to it. Very nice, not too many schools have ground. But then this ground could not be used because it was put to other uses like growing of opium there and context. And she decided that unless they reclaim this space, it will be gone for, not just gone forever, but actually it will instead bring back a lot of other bad practices in. And mobilized other children, raised voice, reached out and refused to back off under pressure or bullying or threats, and took even as much action as burning down that crop, eventually to pushing back successfully. And then there's this Mamta from Tonk, Rajasthan, and who was herself being pushed into child marriage, which she resisted. So got her parents and clan angry. And if that was not enough, she also pledged to make sure that in her village and in and around, she'll not let any child marriage happen. So took cudgels with the whole community. So she was literally crossed by everybody. She continued, she mobilized other children to the extent that at a particular point, she actually won recognition and award from government. and then was brought back to her village as a hero, led by her parents and the village leaders who turned around and became her strongest supporters. What is common among all these three? It's an exercise of a right successfully, despite all odds, and persistently against all threats, perceptions, and favor. Now, do these things happen automatically, suddenly? Sometimes it happens, but quite sometimes there's a whole effort around bringing up such context, and that is what this whole engagement of ours with rights and agencies of or the voice of children is. Save the Children, has been committed not just to be the voice for children, but we believe in finding the voice of children and making sure that that comes to the forefront. And it comes through a method so that it's not a one-off thing. And then that method involves providing all those capacities, awareness, tools, and other contexts through which children can exercise their own agency. So that makes me very happy. But I'm also very concerned and worried. Save the Children works with 1 million children. All the NGOs put together, perhaps 10 million or a few. But if you do the calculation of India's population, 120 crores and 40% of it youth, you have 30, 40, 50, close to 50 crore youth. And we are talking about rights and agencies of those 50 crore citizens of India, future citizens, who will make India or break India depending on how their voice and agencies are available. That's the opportunity for all of us. So when you ask me what have we been doing, what can we all do? So we started with this conversation early about around health. In everything, we see we are not a part of the solution, we are being part of the problem. So a few million children reached for voice and agency, quite a few crore children still waiting. So join us and join all other NGOs. Every little action counts on every day. And we believe that this is possible. And Mamta and Sanya and Radha established that through their actions that it has been done. There are only three. I can tell you 3,000 stories, only because I heard only 3,000. But there are 300,000 stories such. But there need to be 300 million stories. And the ones which are not there are the ones which I want us all to make happen.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing about, starting from your journey, the work at Save the Children, how there are certain areas that one needs to keep in mind while being in the developmental space. And of course, the last question, about how we can all come together and do something for the society, and especially to make the world a safer and a better place for children. I'm sure it's going to help everybody who's going to be, listening to this conversation. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you and listen to your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you for providing this space, and really appreciate everybody else who would be joining in, listening in, and reflecting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.